The loud sound of a siren rang through the cold night air in New York City. It made Everett Lockridge jump in his seat. He was sitting in the back of a big black limousine, feeling tired. His eyes looked away from his laptop, which was full of numbers and charts. For a second, he wondered if the loud sound was just like the mess inside his heart. "Everything okay, Mr. Lockridge?" the driver asked through the car speaker. "Yes, Silas," Everett said. "Just another night in New York." His voice sounded tired. The limousine moved smoothly through the busy city streets. Everett closed his laptop and rubbed his forehead. He was 45 years old now, and he felt every year of it. He also felt very sad and empty ever since his wife, Liane, died exactly 6 months ago. The car stopped in front of a tall, shiny building made of glass and steel. It was the Lockridge building, 70 floors high. Everett stepped out, fixing his fancy suit. He didn't really need to, but it was a habit. "Good evening, Mr. Lockridge," the Gerald said, opening the door. Everett nodded and walked through the big lobby to the private elevator. As the doors closed, he looked at his reflection. His hair had gone gray at the sides. His blue eyes had dark circles under them. He looked both strong and sad. The elevator took him straight to the top floor, his big office. The view of New York's nightlights used to make him happy, but now it just made him feel lonely. He walked over to his big wooden desk. His footsteps sounded loud in the empty room. On his desk was a photo. It was the only one he kept. It showed him and Leon smiling on a beach. Just seeing it made his heart hurt. He sat down in his leather chair and turned on the computer. Even though he felt broken inside, his company, Lockridge Investments, kept going. He had so many emails. They were all important and needed answers. Everett started working like he did every night since Leanne's funeral. Hours passed. The sky outside started to turn light. Everett leaned back in his chair. It was now 5:17 in the morning. He hadn't slept properly for months, but working kept the sad thoughts away. He decided to get some fresh air. He put on his coat and walked out into the street. The cold morning air made him feel more awake than coffee ever did. He started walking with no plan, just letting his feet lead the way. He turned a corner and stopped suddenly. His heart jumped. Was he seeing things? Coming out of a small cafe was a woman who looked exactly like Leanne. She had the same wavy brown hair. She walked the same way Leanne did. She even held her coffee cup like Leanne used to. Everett stood still. He couldn't believe it. The woman walked right past him. He could smell her perfume. Leon's perfume. Without thinking, he started following her. His mind said it was impossible. Leanne was dead, but his heart, which missed her so much, said, "Follow her." He followed her for a few blocks. He stayed far enough back so she wouldn't notice. She didn't look back. She walked like she knew where she was going. Everett watched everything. How her hair moved, how her feet stepped, how she looked at her watch. Then she went inside an apartment building on the Upper East Side. Everett stopped across the street. His heart was beating fast. Who is she? Why does she look exactly like Leanne? Is this just a dream? He stood there for almost an hour, not knowing what to do. His brain said, "Go home. Forget it." But his heart said, "Find out the truth." Finally, he crossed the street and went into the building. The Gerald looked at him. "Can I help you, sir?" Everett paused, then said, trying to sound sure, "Yes, I'm here to see an old friend. She just came in, brown hair, about 5'5", 10". The Gerald nodded. "Ah, Miss Carrington, apartment 7B. Carrington? Everett didn't know the name, but now he knew where she lived. That was enough. He thanked the Gerald and took the elevator up. Now, standing in front of the door to 7B, Everett felt nervous. What will I say? What if she isn't who I think? What if she is? Before he could knock, the door opened. It was her. She looked just like Leanne. Her green eyes were wide with surprise. Neither of them said anything for a moment. Then she gave a small, sad smile. "I was wondering how long it would take you to find me, Alex," she said softly. Everett felt like the world was spinning. That was Leanne's voice, and she had called him Alex, just like Leanne used to. "Who are you?" Everett asked, feeling his knees go weak. The woman sighed. Her eyes showed many feelings: sadness, love, worry. It's a long story, she said, but it will change everything you thought you knew about Leon and yourself. Everett felt like the floor had vanished beneath him. What did she mean? I think you should come in, she said gently, opening the door wider. We have a lot to talk about. Everett slowly walked inside. He knew this was the start of something that would change his life forever. Inside, the apartment was cozy and pretty. It had new furniture, but also some older things, just like Leon's style. It made Everett's heart ache. The woman pointed to a soft beige couch. Would you like some coffee? Or maybe something stronger, she asked with that same soft voice. Coffee is fine, Everett said. His voice was rough. She walked into the kitchen. Everett noticed that even the way she moved was just like Leon. It was like watching a ghost. She came back with 2 cups of coffee and sat across from him. Her green eyes looked straight at him, like they were trying to read his soul. My name is Naomi, she said. Naomi Carrington, but you already know that thanks to the Gerald. Everett nodded. He still couldn't speak. Naomi took a deep breath. Alex, what I'm going to tell you sounds crazy. Sometimes even I think it's crazy, but it's true. She paused. Everett leaned forward, his heart beat faster. I'm Leanne, she said. Or, I have all of Leanne's memories. Everett felt like he had been hit. That's impossible, he whispered. Leanne is gone. I buried her. Naomi nodded. Yes, you buried Leanne, but somehow I woke up the day after her funeral with all her memories. Everything. Her thoughts, her feelings, her secrets, they're all here. She pointed to her head. Everett stood up and walked to the window. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. This is crazy, he said. You must be an actress, or a twin sister I didn't know about. Alex, she said gently, on our first date, you spilled red wine on my white blouse. You were so embarrassed you tried to clean it with napkins and made it worse. I laughed and said it was a sign of love. Everett turned around. His eyes were wide. No one else knew that story. On our honeymoon in Bali, she said next, you got food poisoning. I read The Great Gatsby to you for 3 days while you were sick. Everett's eyes filled with tears. Those were private memories. Only he and Leanne knew them. How? He asked, his voice breaking. How is this possible? Before we keep going, tell us what country you're watching from. We love hearing from our family around the world. And if this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share more powerful stories like this one. Now back to the story. Naomi's eyes were wet too. I don't know, Alex. I woke up in a hospital in Chicago. They told me I had a breakdown, that I was confused, but I knew who I was, or at least who Leanne was. I remembered everything. Everett stepped closer. He looked at her face. It was exactly like Leanne's, but there was a small scar above her left eyebrow. Leanne never had that. You're not her, he whispered. No, she said. I'm Naomi Carrington. I was born in Chicago. I had a normal life. But one day I woke up with another woman's memories. Leanne's memories. Everett sat back down, feeling tired and dizzy. Why did you come to New York? Why didn't you tell me? Naomi, he decided to call her that now, shrugged. At first, I thought I was crazy. Then I got scared. I didn't know how you'd react. You loved Leanne so much. I didn't want to hurt you. Everett nodded slowly. He understood. But you came to New York, he said. I needed to see the places from Leanne's memories, she answered. And maybe I needed to see you. They sat in silence for a long time. Everett looked down at his shaking hands. What happens now? He finally asked. Naomi sighed. I don't know. I didn't plan any of this. I didn't think you'd find me so soon. Everett looked up. For a second, it felt like Leanne was looking back at him. I need time, he said, to think about everything. It's a lot. Naomi nodded. Take all the time you need. I'll be here if you want to talk again. Everett stood up. He walked to the door, but before he left, he turned around one last time. Naomi, he said quietly, trying out the name. Thank you for telling me the truth. She gave him a sad smile. Always, Alex, whether I'm Leanne or Naomi, I could never lie to you. As the door closed behind him, Everett leaned against the wall in the hallway. His legs felt weak and his head was spinning. He had just learned something big and strange. Leanne was dead, but somehow her memories were alive in another woman. Was it magic? A miracle? Or something scary? He didn't know. As he walked out of the building and into the busy streets of Manhattan, Everett knew one thing. His life had changed forever. The mystery of Naomi Carrington and Leanne's memories was just the beginning. He had to find out more, and he was ready to follow the truth, no matter where it led. The days after Everett met Naomi felt like a blur. He went to meetings at Rothschild Investments, but his mind was always thinking about that strange talk with Naomi. On the fourth morning, Everett stood in front of the mirror in his closet. His eyes looked tired. There were dark circles under them, and he hadn't shaved. He didn't look like the powerful CEO that people knew. Enough, he whispered to himself. It's time to do something. He shaved, put on one of his nicest suits, and left his Fifth Avenue apartment with a clear plan. His first stop was Columbia University. After a few phone calls and using his name, he got a meeting with Dr. Elias Voss. Dr. Voss was a smart scientist who studied the brain and how memories work. The doctor's office was messy, full of books, papers, and strange machines. Dr. Voss was a middle-aged man with messy gray hair and big glasses. He looked surprised to see the famous businessman. "Mr. Rothschild," he said, "I was curious about your message. How can I help you?" Everett took a deep breath. "Doctor, what I'm going to tell you must stay secret," he said. The doctor nodded, and Everett continued. "I met a woman who says she has all of my late wife Leanne's memories in the dinner, not just small things. She knows private and personal moments that only Leanne and I knew." Dr. Voss leaned forward, his eyes wide with interest. "That's amazing. Does she look like your wife too?" "Yes," Everett said. "She looks exactly like Leanne, except for one small scar that Leanne never had." For almost 2 hours, Everett told the doctor everything about meeting Naomi. He answered all the doctor's questions. Dr. Voss wrote notes and whispered to himself, thinking hard. Finally, he took off his glasses and rubbed them. "Mr. Rothschild, this is not something science understands. We don't know any way that one person's memories can go to another person after death." "So it's impossible?" Everett asked, feeling both sad and hopeful. "In science," Dr. Voss said with a small smile, "we try not to say impossible. Maybe it doesn't make sense right now, but one day we might understand it." Everett nodded. "So what do you think we should do?" The doctor thought for a moment. "If the woman agrees, I'd like to run some tests. Brain scans, memory tests, things like that. If you have any of Leanne's old medical records, that would help." Everett wasn't sure. Naomi wasn't a science project, she was a person. But the chance to find real answers was too important. "I'll think about it," he said. "I need to talk to her first." As he left the university, Everett walked through Manhattan with his mind full of thoughts. What if Naomi said yes to the tests? What if they proved that she really had Leanne's memories? What would that mean? Without meaning to, he ended up standing across the street from Naomi's building. He looked up at the windows on the 7th floor. Should he go up and talk to her? His phone buzzed. It was a message from Silas, his assistant. Emergency meeting with the board in 30 minutes. Possible company problem in Seattle. Everett sighed. The real world didn't stop just because his personal life was confusing. He looked at Naomi's building one last time, then waved for a taxi. On the way to his office, Everett tried to focus on the Seattle problem, but his thoughts kept going back to Naomi. He needed more answers. He needed to understand what was happening. And most of all, he needed to decide what to do next. When he got to Rothschild Tower, he fixed his tie and put on his serious CEO face. For the next few hours, he had to be the boss everyone expected, but inside, he was already making a plan. As soon as this work problem was fixed, he would go back to apartment 7B. He had to talk to Naomi again, and this time, He wouldn't leave until he had real answers. As the elevator went up to the meeting room, Everett felt nervous but also strong. The mystery of Naomi and Leanne's memories was like a puzzle, and he had to solve it. Because deep down, he knew this wasn't just about Leon or Naomi. It was about him and what kind of future he wanted. The elevator doors opened. Everett Rothschild, the powerful businessman, stepped out. But inside, he was still the man who had just learned that maybe the impossible was possible after all. Later that day, the sun set over Manhattan, painting the sky orange and purple. Everett left the Rothschild Tower. The problem in Seattle had been fixed, but he felt tired. Still, there was something more important on his mind. He ignored the car waiting for him and started walking. The cool night air helped clear his thoughts. Without realizing it, he was standing in front of Naomi's building again. This time, he didn't wait. He walked in and took the elevator to the 7th floor. Standing in front of apartment 7B, Everett took a deep breath and knocked. The door opened. Naomi stood there in jeans and a t-shirt. She looked surprised. "Alex," she said quietly, "I didn't expect." "Can we talk?" he asked quickly. His voice sounded rough. Naomi nodded and opened the door for him. The apartment looked the same, but now Everett noticed more things. A psychology book on the table, a family photo on a shelf. "Do you want something to drink?" Naomi asked. "No thanks," Everett said. "I need answers." She sat down on the sofa and nodded for him to sit too. "I thought you'd come back," she said. Everett stayed quiet for a second, then spoke. "What is it like to have someone else's memories? Do you ever feel like Leanne?" Naomi thought for a moment. "It's hard to explain," she said. "Sometimes it feels like I'm watching a movie. Other times the emotions are so strong I forget they're not mine." She looked at him. "And yes, sometimes I feel like Leanne. I use her words, her way of talking. I even dream her dreams." Everett's throat felt tight. Do you feel the love she had for me?" he asked. Naomi looked down. Her hands tightened in her lap. "Alex," she said softly, "the love Leanne felt for you is real in my mind. But I'm not Leanne. Those feelings are mixed up with my own." Everett nodded. It was hard to hear, but he understood. "I saw a brain doctor today," he said, changing the topic. "He wants to run some tests to understand this better." Naomi looked surprised. "What kind of tests?" Everett told her what Dr. Voss had said. He watched her face change, curious, nervous, and maybe even hopeful. "What do you think?" he asked. Naomi didn't answer right away. She looked out the window at the city lights. "I've wondered if I was crazy," she said. "Part of me wants answers too, but what?" he asked. "I'm scared," she whispered. "What if it's all just a weird trick, or what if it's real? What does that mean for me? Who am I?" Everett felt a wave of care for her. He gently took her hand. It felt both familiar and new. "We don't have to decide everything now," he said softly, "but we deserve to know the truth." Naomi looked at their hands, her eyes filled with many feelings. "You're right," she said. "I'll do the tests, but Alex, no matter what the results are, I'm not Leon. I can't be her." Her words hurt Everett, but he knew she was right. He let go of her hand slowly. "I know," he said, "but maybe we can learn who we are to each other in this new world." Naomi gave him a sad smile. "Maybe." They spent the next few hours talking. They shared memories, some they both knew from Leanne and some new ones. It was strange and comforting at the same time. When Everett finally left, it was after midnight. At the door, he turned to her. "Thank you," he said, "for telling me the truth, for saying yes to the tests, for everything." Naomi nodded. "Good night, Alex. I'll call you about the test details." As he walked home, Everett felt tired but also full of energy. The mystery wasn't solved, but he was moving forward. The future was still full of questions and scary thoughts. But for the first time in a long time, Everett felt hope. He didn't know what the tests would show or what tomorrow would bring, but he was ready. He would take one step at a time with Naomi, whoever she really was, by his side on this strange and amazing journey. Inside Dr. Voss's lab, machines beeped and scientists worked quietly. Everett stood behind a glass window, watching Naomi get ready for her brain scan. Her heart was beating fast. She was nervous and excited. "Mr. Rothschild," Dr. Voss said, bringing him back to the moment. "I must remind you, this is all new. We can't promise any clear answers." Everett nodded. He didn't take his eyes off Naomi. "I understand, doctor," he said, "but we have to try." The next few hours felt like a big blur for Everett. There were many tests, brain checkups, and lots of questions to answer. Everett kept busy watching what was happening and filling out his own papers. He gave the doctors Leanne's old health records and test results, anything that might help them understand what was going on with Naomi. In the late afternoon, Naomi was having a brain test called an EEG. Everett was walking in the hallway to stretch his legs after sitting for so long. Suddenly, he heard shouting from the exam room. He rushed back inside. Naomi was sitting stiff in the chair. Her eyes were wide open and staring at something far away. Dr. Reiner and his helpers were moving quickly around her. "What's going on?" Everett asked, worried. Dr. Reiner looked at him with a shocked face. "Mr. Lockridge, your child, she's remembering something. She's seeing the day your wife Leanne had her car crash." Everett couldn't breathe. Leanne's car accident had happened while he was on a business trip. He never really knew the full story of what happened that day. He walked slowly to Naomi. Her eyes were full of tears. Her voice shook as she spoke. "It's raining so hard. I can't see the road. The phone. Alex is calling. Should I answer? No, it's dangerous. Oh no, a truck. It's coming too fast. I have to move the car." She suddenly began to cry. Then she blinked and looked around like she had just woken up. Her eyes found Everett's. She whispered, "What happened?" Everett wanted to hug her, but he wasn't sure if he should. Dr. Reiner gently said, "Miss Carrington, you just had a very clear memory. Can you tell us what else you remember?" Naomi thought hard. I was driving. It was raining a lot." Then she looked at Everett again. Her eyes grew wide. "Oh, Alex, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have answered the phone." Everett felt like he might fall. He leaned against the wall. His mind was spinning. Did Leanne die because she tried to answer his call? Dr. Reiner noticed the tense moment and said, "I think that's enough for today. Let's take a break and start again tomorrow." Everett could hardly hear the doctor. Everything in his world felt upside down. When he finally looked up, Naomi was already dressed and standing beside him. She looked worried. "Alex," she said softly, "it wasn't your fault. Leanne and we both knew not to answer phones while driving. It was just a bad choice made in a quick moment." Everett shook his head. He didn't want to feel better yet. "I need some air," he said, walking out. The cold air outside hit his face, but he didn't care. He walked across the university without knowing where he was going. His heart was heavy with sadness, pain, and guilt. After a while, he found himself in a small park. He sat down on a bench and put his head in his hands. "Alex," a soft voice called. He wasn't surprised that Naomi had followed him. He looked up slowly. This time, he didn't just see how she looked like Leanne. He saw a woman who was kind and hurting, just like him. A woman who had memories that didn't belong to her and didn't understand why. "How do you deal with it?" he asked. "How do you live with memories that aren't really yours?" Naomi sat beside him and looked at the sky. "It's not easy," she said. "Sometimes I feel like I have two lives, but I'm learning to accept it. These memories are part of me now, even if they didn't start that way." Everett nodded slowly. Her words made sense. "What about us?" he asked. "What do we do with whatever is between us?" Naomi looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I don't know, Alex, but I think we should try to figure it out. Not as Alex and Leanne, but as Alex and Naomi." Sitting on that bench as the sun went down behind the New York building, something changed inside Everett. He still missed Leanne. He still felt sad and guilty. But now he also felt something new, a connection to Naomi, something real. "Together," he repeated with a small smile. "I think I can do that." They stood up and walked back to the lab. More tests and questions waited for them. But for the first time, Everett felt like he was on the right path. The mystery of the shared memories was still big, but maybe this wasn't just about the past, it was also about the future they could build together. In the next few weeks, everything got even busier. There were more tests, more research, and many long talks late at night. Everett and Naomi spent most of their time at Dr. Reiner's lab. It felt like their second home. One afternoon, while Everett watched another test, his phone buzzed. It was a message from his assistant. Urgent. The company needs to talk to you. They're worried about your long leave. Everett sighed. He ran a hand through his messy hair. He had spent so much time helping Naomi that his business was starting to worry. Something wrong? Dr. Reiner asked. Nothing I can't handle, Everett said. What are we doing today? Dr. Reiner smiled with excitement. Something very interesting. We compared Naomi's brain scans to Leanne's old ones. Come and see. He showed Everett 2 brain pictures on a screen. They both glowed and looked very similar. This one is Leanne's, 3 months before the accident, said the doctor. And this one is Naomi's from yesterday. Everett looked closely. They looked exactly the same. They're identical, he said. Yes, said Dr. Reiner. The brain activity, the way they react. It's like we're looking at the same brain, just at different times. Everett felt shocked. Is that even possible? Dr. Reiner shook his head. Not scientifically, but it's happening. Just then, Naomi walked into the room in her hospital gown. Her eyes met Everett's, full of questions. Sam, he said softly. He had started calling her that now. We need to talk. They went to a small private room. Everett told her everything the doctor had shown him. Naomi's voice shook. So, what does that mean? That I'm a clone? Or a ghost of Leanne? Everett shook his head. I don't know, but it means you're not crazy. Leanne's memories really are inside you. Naomi stood up and looked out the window. But I'm not her, Alex. I have my own life, my own memories. I'm Naomi. Everett walked to her and gently touched her shoulder. I know, that's what makes it even more special. She turned to him with tears in her eyes. So what do we do now? Before Everett could answer, his phone rang again. This time it was a call from the boss of his company. The call was short and serious. When he hung up, his face looked worried. Problem? Naomi asked. They might take me off the board for a while. They think I'm not stable since Leanne's death. Naomi nodded. Then maybe it's time to tell the truth. Everett was surprised. Are you sure? Everything will change. She gave a little smile. Our lives already changed, Alex. Maybe now it's time to be honest with the world. That evening, they talked with Dr. Reiner and the other scientists. They made a big decision. They would tell the world about the memories. The next morning, the lobby of Lockridge Tower was full of reporters and cameras. Everett wore a neat navy suit. Naomi stood beside him in a simple dress. Everett walked to the microphone. Good morning, he said. Today, we are here to share something amazing. A story that shows how the mind and memories work in ways we never imagined. He spoke about everything they had discovered. The reporters listened in shock. The cameras clicked. People whispered to each other. When he finished speaking, the room was silent. Then the questions came quickly. Mr. Lockridge, is this a science experiment? Miss Carrington, do you really think you're Mrs. Lockridge? Will this change how Lockridge Investments is run? Everett raised his hands. We know this is hard to believe. That's why we invited Dr. Elias Reiner from Columbia University to explain the science. Dr. Reiner stepped up to talk. Everett turned to look at Naomi. Their eyes met. They both knew. There was no going back now. Their lives were already connected. And now the whole world knew their secret. What would happen next, personally, professionally, and scientifically, was still unknown. Everett held Naomi's hand and looked into her eyes. He felt something very strong in his heart. No matter what would happen in the future, he knew they would face it together. Not just as Alex and Leanne, not just as Alex and Naomi, but as 2 people joined by something very special, something that even scientists didn't fully understand. Cameras flashed all around them, people were shouting questions, but Everett and Naomi stood side by side. This was a new beginning for them. Their story about memories and science had become something huge. It was not just their story anymore. It was a story the whole world was talking about. After their press conference, everything got very busy. News reporters talked about Everett and Naomi every day. People on TV, the internet, and in schools and colleges argued about what was happening. Some were excited, others were confused. Everett sat in his tall office in Rothschild Tower, looking at the lights of New York City. It was nighttime, and the city looked like little stars shining on Earth. His phone kept ringing. Reporters, scientists, and even religious people wanted to talk to him. A soft knock on the door made him look up. It was Naomi. She was holding 2 cups of coffee. "I thought you might need this," she said kindly. Everett smiled and took the cup. "You have no idea." They sat together, drinking their coffee and looking at the city. "How are you feeling about all this?" Everett asked. Naomi put down her cup and sighed. "It feels strange. Yesterday, a woman came up to me. She lost her daughter a few years ago. She asked me if I thought her daughter could come back too, like me." Everett nodded. "We're giving people hope," he said. "Yes," Naomi said softly, "but also fear and confusion and guilt." "Guilt?" Everett asked, looking at her. She looked at him with sad eyes. "Alex, what if I somehow took Leanne's life? What if she couldn't rest because I'm here now?" Everett felt his heart hurt. He had never thought about that. "Sam," he said gently, "you didn't steal anything. What happened to you and to Leanne was not your fault." Naomi nodded, but Everett saw that she still looked worried. Before they could talk more, Everett's phone rang again. He looked at the screen. "It's Dr. Reiner," he said, picking it up. The phone call was short. When it ended, Everett looked very pale. "What's wrong?" Naomi asked. "Someone broke into Dr. Reiner's lab last night," he said. "They took all our test results, all the samples." Naomi gasped, "But who would do that, and why?" "I don't know," Everett said, "but I have a very bad feeling." In the next few days, things got worse. They saw strangers watching them. People were hiding outside their home. They got weird phone calls at night. Then one day, Everett got an envelope at work. Inside were photos of Naomi. In the park, at the store, walking near Dr. Reiner's lab. There was a note. "We know what she is, and we want to study her." Everett felt cold inside. He called Naomi right away and told her to meet him at a safe place. Later that day, they were sitting in a secret hotel room. With them were Silas, Everett's trusted assistant, and some bodyguards. "We can't live like this anymore," Everett said, very upset. "It's too dangerous." Naomi looked scared. "What can we do?" Everett looked at Silas. Silas nodded and said, "I have a plan, but it won't be easy." Silas told them the plan. They would disappear. Everett would use his company's help to make new names and IDs for both of them. They would move to a faraway place where no one could find them. "But what about your company?" "Your whole life?" Naomi asked. Everett took her hands in his and looked into her eyes. "None of that matters if you're not safe. This is bigger than business or money." Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "Alex, I don't want you to give up everything for me." "You're not asking," he said gently. "I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing us." At that moment, something changed between them. Their bond felt stronger. It wasn't just about the past or strange memories, dentist fact. It was about the life they could build together. That night, they quietly left the hotel. They were ready to begin a new journey. They didn't know what would happen next, but they felt free. For the first time, they were not looking back. They were looking ahead, together. The sun rose over the Colorado mountains. The sky turned pink and orange. Everett sat on the porch of a wooden cabin holding a cup of coffee. It had been 6 months since they left New York. He heard footsteps and smiled. Naomi joined him, wrapping a blanket around herself. "Good morning," she said, leaning against him. "Good morning," he said, putting his arm around her. They sat quietly, enjoying the peace. "Any news from Silas?" Naomi asked. Everett nodded. "Yes, he sent me a secret email. Things are calming down in New York. Dr. Reiner got back some of the data. He's working with other scientists now, very quietly." Naomi smiled. "And the people who were after us?" "As Silas says, the police caught some of them. They were part of a strange group. They believed you were some kind of spirit." Naomi laughed a little. "Well, maybe I am," she joked. Everett turned to her. "You're not a strange thing. You're amazing." She blushed a little and smiled. In the last 6 months, they had grown very close. Leanne's memories were still there, but they didn't control their lives anymore. "Alex," Naomi said softly, "I think it's time." Everett knew what she meant right away. They had talked about it before. "Are you sure?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, we can't hide forever. Maybe my story can help people. Maybe it can help science." Everett took a deep breath and said, "Okay, I'll call Silas. We'll make the plan." In the next few weeks, they worked hard. They planned their return to the world. It wouldn't be easy. People still wanted to know their story. Finally, on a bright autumn morning, Everett and Naomi stood on the steps of a big science center called the Institute for Advanced Neuroscience. This center was built just for their case. Cameras were everywhere. Reporters asked questions. Everett stepped forward. "A year ago, we found something that changed what we thought we knew about the mind. Today, we continue that journey, not as strange cases, but as partners in learning." Naomi stepped forward too. Her voice was strong. "What happened to me, these memories I have from Leanne Lockridge, is still a mystery. But we believe this can help with brain injuries, memory problems, and maybe help us understand how the human mind really works." They answered more questions. Everett thought about everything that had happened: losing Leon, finding Naomi, hiding, and finally coming back. Later that day, after the cameras were gone, Everett and Naomi sat alone in a quiet room. "Are you okay?" he asked her. Naomi smiled. This smile wasn't Leanne's, it was her own. "I'm okay," she said. "For a long time, I thought I was just a copy of Leanne, like I didn't really belong. But now I see I'm not Leanne. I'm not only Naomi, I'm something new. Maybe the universe made me for a reason." Everett looked at her with love. He held her hand tightly. "Whatever happens next," he said, "we'll face it together." Naomi squeezed his hand. Her eyes sparkled. "Together," she said. As the sun set, painting the room in golden light, Everett and Naomi felt ready for whatever came next. The mystery of their shared memories wasn't solved yet, but they had stopped being afraid. They had learned something important. Some questions don't have easy answers. Some miracles can't be explained. But in the middle of the mystery, they had found something special: each other, and the bravery to live a truly amazing life. And so, hand in hand, they looked to the future. Not as Alex and Leanne, not just as Alex and Naomi, not as but as two people joined by a powerful bond, ready to explore the wonders of life together, one day at a time.